Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. I hope you all are well. So it's almost summertime. Beautiful weather, it's warming up really nice. And the other day I was just passing through town and I noticed a guy, he was riding a Norden 901. It's a nice looking bike. What I also noticed is, it's the warm weather. He's that guy, just short sleeves, shorts, and he's wearing these. That's right, flip-flops. And I was like, man, that was one brave dude. It made me think, I just passed my year anniversary of when I crashed out in the desert and I broke all my ribs and I crushed my foot. And it got me thinking about foot protection or lower leg protection while riding. So I thought I'd do a quick video discussing just that. After the wreck, while I was sitting on the couch, I was down for 6 weeks, did a lot of thinking. Did a lot of thinking about protective gear, in particular my protective gear. And there's no doubt about it, I was wearing boots, gloves, jacket, pants, padding, helmet, everything, all the gear, all the time, right? If I hadn't have been wearing what I had on that day, things would have been a lot worse. I would have had more than broken ribs and a crushed foot. There's no doubt about that. However, if I would have had perhaps some better boots on, it might have mitigated the injury I sustained to my foot. So it was over a month before I could even put a shoe on. And my point is that if you are new to dual sport motorcycle riding, or you're thinking about protective gear at all, getting into motorcycle riding, there are lots of choices out there. And you really don't know how well something works until you get into a wreck. So I mentioned that, new dual sport riders, new to motorcycle riding in general, mainly because I recall when I was just getting started out riding, and the most protective gear I was wearing at the time were like some jeans and a hoodie and my hiking boots and some like garden gloves. That was it. I really didn't know. And the more riding I did, the more I experienced, the more I did of all of it, then I started learning more about protective gear and the different types of jackets and everything. It's pretty broad. It's a lot to take in when you're new to it. So this video is leaning more towards the new rider and may help out with some questions in regards to that. However, I'm only saying this because, if you've been riding for 10, 20, 30 years or whatnot, you more than likely have your gear set out. Maybe you don't. And maybe you're just here to see my experiences. So after wearing hiking boots for a while, I moved on to an actual adventure boot. Now there's different types of boots. There's an ADV boot, there's a motocross boot, things of this nature. It was just a pair of Fox racing, boots. They weren't anything special. I wore those for a while, and then I moved into another boot, which was the Alpinestars Dry Star Corzal boot, if I'm not mistaken. And I began wearing this boot for a while. And this is the boot I was wearing when I got into my crash. Now, as you can see, here's my hiking boot, and here's the Alpinestars boot. There's some differences. Mainly, you've got some protection going all the way up your shin to just below your knee, thereabouts. This is very important, very important. It's got a few buckles, it's got some padding, but this is like your typical adventure motorcycle boot. They all kind of resemble this. There's no hard plastics or anything. It's got mainly just a bunch of padding. It's pretty flexible. You can crush it and everything. And I got in some spills while wearing this boot prior to that accident where I got into the broken ribs and crushed foot. Just some dust ups in the desert, and everything was fine. And I never really got too injured or, just kind of, walk it off type stuff, no big deal. But it was after that main wreck that things definitely changed. After that wreck, I really thought hard about my choice in boots while riding, and I decided to go with a different boot altogether, I decided to go for the Gaerne SG12s. And this is the Gaerne SG12. I've now been wearing this boot for over a year, and it is fantastic. So I'm going to kind of discuss this boot, my experiences with it over the past year, and a little bit of the Alpine Stars and how much more protection this type of boot offers versus your just typical adventure boot. So I'm not knocking adventure boots whatsoever. There's many to choose from with different levels of protection. So the Alpine Stars Corazal Dry Star boot is actually, I thought it was a pretty good boot until my foot got crushed in it. But very comfortable, and I think that's the main draw with ADV boots, adventure boots, is that's just what they are. They're comfortable. They will offer some protection, better protection, I suppose. Maybe I shouldn't use the word better, but on the asphalt, I'd say they're ideal. Because when you wreck, I mean, anything can happen. It's just so, you're not going to just fall the same way every time, you know. But I'll just say this about the Alpine Stars is that my experience with them, the Dry Star Corazal boots, is that they were comfortable enough. For the type of riding I was doing out on the dirt, they seemed at the time to offer enough protection. The one thing, they were very hot. I ride predominantly in the desert. They were extremely warm, very warm. They were really hot once the temps rose up. But I rode them very nice in the wintertime. But I rode them in the rain as well. They did very well. However, after that wreck, I didn't trust them anymore, you know. So I'm going to point out some things with this particular boot, and these could probably go, you know, for across the board with most adventure boots. Once you start getting farther up the chain with more protection on the boots, then things are going to change. But one thing I'm going to point out automatically is, as I just showed, you can see with this boot, it takes no effort to literally just squinch this thing up. Now, think about that if you're on a 500-pound motorcycle. I was riding a 290-pound motorcycle, my XC250, when I got into the wreck that crushed my foot. And I'm not exactly sure what happened, but somehow, and I want to point this out that maybe not a lot of people think about, is the whole cap here over the toe. You can see I can just squeeze that in, no problem. What happened is I think the foot peg on the XT, the weight of the motorcycle pressed in, and there was like literally a straight line going just below my toenail across my foot, and it was like dug in where the bike had like pressed in, and it was bad. And I was thinking, if I had been on my KLR 650, you know, a 500-pound motorcycle, and that happened, probably would have been a good chance that I would have lost my toes. It would have cut them off. I mean, that happens. Happens pretty frequently. People lose their feet on motorcycles. So with the Gaernes, now I'm not like hulking this thing, but there's a difference here. And you get down, I cannot squeeze this boot. There's no, literally, there isn't much flex. When you shift in these boots, you have to use your leg to shift. You're not just using your upper foot to shift. You have to get down. I'm still have trouble shifting in these boots after a year of use. So it's like if I don't ride for, you know, a few days and I get back on, I got to like relearn how to shift these dang things. But these boots have saved my bacon at least 3 times since that wreck, avoiding probably a pretty serious injury. Are they as comfortable as the Alpine Stars? Initially, no, they're not. They're not as warm as the Alpine Stars either, and these Gaernes are certainly not waterproof. But I've worn these in below freezing weather. Toes are a little cold. I just wore thicker stock, no big deal. And I've worn them in plenty of rainstorms, going through puddles. My foot got a little wet, but I survived. But I don't want to go without the protection that this boot offers now. Now, after I bought the Gaerne SG12s, I think a few months later, they came out with the SG22s. I have no experience with that boot. I imagine it offers just as much protection as the 12s. I was just on Rocky Mountain ATV. They're still selling the Gaerne SG12s. So I don't know if they're gonna not sell them, but this boot is fantastic, and I wouldn't hesitate on owning another pair. So important features with the Gaerne SG12 is you've got a solid plastic toe cap here that I can't press in. Now, I would probably still get injured if a 500-pound bike fell on that, but it would definitely mitigate that injury over the adventure boots that I was wearing. So I can't even press that in. It's got a metal toe cap here, yeah, this is kind of a pain in the butt. You do a lot of slipping if you're walking in wet branches or stuff like that, you'll slip. Some people may even take that off. It's got some flexing, not much. The inside's kind of mold into your foot, so it definitely takes some breaking in, but this is superior to the other boot I was showing as far as protection. Excellent ankle protection all the way up into the shin. Yeah, this boot has saved me more than once out there in the desert. Price-wise, it's a very spendy boot. I paid $600 for the pair, and they're still, I think Rocky Mountain had them anywhere from $500 to $600, but you need to think, and the new SG22s are just a little more. I think they're $650, but you need to think about one thing, and this goes with all the protective gear that you should consider. You should spend as much money as you can on protective gear. So when I got into that accident with my ribs and crushed foot and everything, I was out of work for 6 weeks. That was 6 weeks without pay. Now I had a little, some comp time, but I went 6 weeks without a paycheck. So in the long run, it was cheaper to buy these boots and have the protection than risk the injury that would cost me more from being out of work. Feel me? After wearing the Gaerne SG12s, I don't want to wear anything else while I ride. If they made these in like a more waterproof version, that would be fantastic. But I wouldn't exactly say these are comfortable. I'm used to them, and you know, there's a saying, well, it's not supposed to be comfortable, it's supposed to be comforting. I can dig that. I think most people, when they're considering purchasing boots, especially dual sport motorcycle riders or adventure motorcycle riders, they are concerned with a little more of the comfort aspect, and I can totally understand that, because trust me, riding long distances in, say, the Alpenstars boot here, hundreds and hundreds of miles, this is definitely going to be a lot more comfortable than wearing the SG12s. But one thing that I constantly remind myself is that all it takes is one time. It's just one time. That's all it takes. And if you happen to be wearing these when that one time happens, whether it's on the dirt or the asphalt, you may not have a foot. If that one time happens while you're wearing these, you still may not have a foot. You may have a broken ankle, it could, you just think. And that one time wearing these, yes, you're gonna have some protection. You're still gonna get injured. And then versus that one time wearing these, you're gonna be even less injured. So this is what I think about now, because that's the thing. It only takes that one time. So when you're considering your protection while riding, you need to consider the best protection you can with what you can afford. If I'd even spend more, get that credit card out, because it's completely worth it. Now, this is what the boot looks like over a year of use. These are the Gaerne SG12s I've mentioned. A little chewed up on the bottom there. I think you can get these resoled. I have had these buckles here break, And I've also had these break as well, and you can always find extra buckles and extra class like this on, like, say for example, Rocky Mountain ATV. They're not very expensive, and they just simply screw in or they slide in. It's easy to replace. Yeah, I probably got another good year of use out of these, hopefully, but I wouldn't hesitate to buy another pair. And they do break in, they do mold into your ankle and your foot. And as far as size-wise, let's see, this is a 10. I wear a 10.5. I believe these run a little big, so I typically wear 10.5, and I bought these in a 10. One thing I liked about these is I think they had a little wider toe box here, so that's one of the things. I can't stand like the really narrow boots, so I need a little wider boot. These were a little wider. So I did go a size under, and they fit just fine, not a size over. I don't even think they have half sizes. I think it's just 10, 11, whatnot. So I wear a 10.5, and I bought these in a size 10 and worked out fantastic. So I do have a clip where I got into a small dust up in the desert while wearing the SG12s, and that particular ride, if I had not been wearing those boots, I was on my 300L. I had a bunch of tools and stuff and gear in the pannier bags. I was going up a mountain pass. I wrecked the bike. I crashed. I was on my stomach in the bushes. The bike was on top of me, and it was on a slope like that, and had the weight of the bike and the pannier trapped my leg. My foot was like that underneath the bike while I was trying to get out. If I'd been in these boots, I probably could have fractured my ankle. But as you can see on the Gaernes, yep, not helping. They absolutely saved me from possibly fracturing my ankle that day. I mean, it would have happened. And you can see in this clip that I'm about to show, if you just watch it, you'll see how the bike has got my foot trapped underneath it, squished like that. I mean, totally, this boot absolutely saved my bacon in that. So check this out. There we go. Yeah. All right. Come on, no, stay out of it. Oh, come on now. Ah. Oh. Oh. All right. Oh, snap. Oh. Damn. My right leg got trapped underneath the pannier. Oh, dang it. I was doing so good. Well, let me just say, I believe in the Gaerne SG12s, because I think if I would have had something else on, I might have be dealing with an injury there. And I'm pretty good to go. I feel all right. Whew. So one thing that I hadn't really considered in boots prior to the accident was how important it is over the top of the toes to have crush protection. So that's a big deal. So if you are new to dual sport motorcycle riding, you're new to trying to figure out a pair of boots to wear, I would highly recommend the Gaerne SG12s, or the Gaerne SG22s. I hear good things about the SG10s as well. I don't have any experience with those, but you should definitely look into boots that have, you can't just squish. You want some stiffness is good. Yes, it's going to be difficult to shift, but you know, on the other hand, when you eventually lay the bike down, however you land, you're going to want that extra protection, the superior protection along your shins, the stiffness, the crush protection over the toes is extremely important. think about these things while you're looking at boots, and having a little less comfort and a little more protection actually is not a bad thing. But I understand, I completely get it. I completely get it. So that being said, I just wanted to make a video after thinking about these things. Hopefully this helps out some of you in decisions. I know there are lots of choices out there, and a lot of these items are very expensive. So that's my experience with this fantastic motorcycle boot. All right, folks, as always, lots more content on the way. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay safe out there. We'll see you next time. D-Rock out. Adios.